I want to talk resume, Spence's versus Crawford's. Whose is really better? Because I feel like these two fighters are looked at differently, and honestly, I don't see why. Like, Spence beats a guy and he doesn't do well the rest of his career. Spence ruined him. Crawford beats a guy, doesn't do good for the rest of his career. That guy was garbage. This man right here is Fannon. He has a great boxing channel. Go check him out. We don't agree all the time, but I respect his opinion. I enjoy talking to guys who know their shit. Well, I was down in the chat and I said, do you think Tim Tszyu looks so good against Harrison Ocampo because he spent all the time training with Goosen? Fannon didn't know what I was talking about, but Tim Tszyu came to America, spent 4 months away from friends, family, any comfort he had, and trained. And I'm like, fuck, that's got to take a toll on somebody. And it did. And he looked better. He looked a lot better. 4 months of just straight training to train, so... Fannon basically said, oh, they've been knocked out before. You can't put a lot of stake in guys like that. So I sat back and I said, well, what does that say about, Lamont Peterson or Kell Brook, who've been knocked out before when Spence fought him? And then he called me an ass or something. He insulted me. And I wrote in the comments, I'm like, dude, you don't even insult me. We're just having a conversation back and forth. I'm just pressing you on what you said. And he was like, I don't put any stake in the Peterson win. And I was like, okay, fine. Because a lot of people do say former title holder, has fought some good fights, is a good fighter, a really good fighter. And then he said, Ocampo was just trash. Kell Brook was actually a good fighter. Ocampo was just trash. And then he made some off-the-cuff remark about when, when Crawford fought Brook and Porter. So that brings me to what we're doing today. Let's break down both fighters' resumes. And Fannon, if you do manage to see this, man, I'd love to debate you, but I work from 7:30 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. I put in 2 half days, and then I'm doing stuff with the family. So I'm been more than willing to exchange videos back and forth, or just write in the comments back and forth, because that's how I have free time. I'm not having somebody walk past my office and see me debating in the middle of my work day. But yeah, it's probably not gonna happen, I think. So I think we can agree that these are the top tier wins for Errol Spence. I think Spence's best fight is Brook. I'm a fan of Kell Brook, one of my favorite fighters. He got Kell Brook coming off of a knockout by Triple G when Triple G was in his prime, though. And then, of course, you got Porter. He got a much better Porter than Crawford got. And then Danny Garcia is that's a high-quality win, but Crawford tried to reach out and fight Danny Garcia on 2 separate occasions, like 2018 and 2020, and Danny Garcia was just not budging. He didn't want that fight. He did not want that fight. And then, of course, you got to throw Ugas in there. That is a high-quality win as well. In the second tier, I'm going to put Mikey Garcia and Lamont Peterson. Lamont Peterson, former champion, really good fighter. Mikey Garcia jumped up 2 full weight classes to fight Spence, and the dude has a losing record as a welterweight. He's not a welterweight. He's 1-2 as a welterweight. He's in the second tier, definitely. In this third tier, you can put Algieri, good fighter, not great, but a really good fighter. If you want, you can also put Bundu and Van Heerden in here, giving him 7 to 9 quality wins, 9 at the most. Crawford has 1 less elite win than Spence, but he fought Porter. He didn't get the best Porter, wasn't prepared enough. But he did what you're supposed to do, a dude that's not prepared enough. He sat him down twice. He made his dad throw in the towel a little early, but he wasn't going to win that fight after he sat him down twice. He did what he was supposed to do, Porter. He fought the dude. What else are you supposed to do? Like, it's his fault that he wasn't prepared. He fought Kell Brook. Kell Brook was still the dude. Fought 3 times before he fought Crawford. Beat those guys. KO'd 2 of them. One of the dudes that he beat went on to capture a title. And then after losing to Crawford, he knocked out Khan in 6. Kell Brook, fantastic fighter. His 3 losses are against top 3 fighters. And then he beat Postal, title holder, number 1 at the time that he fought him. I put only 1 person in the tier 2 list for Crawford. You could put some more people in here, but I feel like this is just adequate. Some people want to put Burns in the top level because he held a title for 4 or 5 years, held 3 different titles, but I'm going to put him in tier 2. Here's where things get interesting in tier 3. People want to put Beltran in tier 2 because he was number 2 at the time that he fought Crawford, coming off that tie on Burns, and before that having 3 or 4 wins. Then you got undefeated fighters like Felix Diaz. Thomas Delorme, who had 2 losses, was actually ranked number 10 at the time. I don't know why. Then Gamboa, it's funny, people don't show any respect to Gamboa when he was better coming up from the weight classes, a former titleist, and he was number 10 fighting Haney, and everybody wants to be like, it's quality win, he was ranked number 10 when he faced Haney. But yeah, undefeated, facing Crawford, he's garbage. And then you got John Molina, Julius Ndongo, who I feel was kind of like a flash in the pan. We found out who he really was. And then Deary Jean. I mean, if I'm going to put people like Bundu and Van Heerden on the list for wins for Spence, I can put these people on the list of wins for Crawford. So that's 11 wins, leaving off people like Benavidez and Horn and Avancian, who was also, I think, ranked by some organizations. And that's like putting Bundu and Van Heerden on the list, so I could add people onto this list. So you tell me, looking at this list, who really has a better resume? Crawford has fought more notable names. If you know your boxing, you know these names, and you cannot disagree with me. Record for record, we can go down the list, and you find more notable names, more people that have fought for titles or held titles, etc., that Crawford has fight compared to Spence. It's right there. It's on paper. I think the real dispute comes in Crawford's welterweight record, which even then doesn't even make any goddamn sense. The dude has 7 fights, in welterweight. 1 fight to win the belt, and then 2 dudes Spence has also fought. So he's garbage because his other 4 fights weren't top 4 fucking dudes? Are you serious? Spence has spent his whole career at welterweight, 28 fights, and he only has 7 quality wins. That's ridiculous. As many fights as Crawford has had in welterweight. But with that being said, yeah, Spence has spent his whole career in welterweight. He punches more. Crawford takes a few rounds to figure somebody out. You can't give 3 or 4 rounds away to Spence. He's going to win that fight. Spence is the better dude at that division. He's going to win.